Thanks for logging on to Wayne.com, where we're back talking hockey after a crazy Super Bowl week. Blake Sebring of the News Sentinel joining us. And Blake, trade deadline today. Comets not making a move. Talk about where they are and how they feel about what they've got already on the roster this season.
I think what's happening is you've got everybody so close in the league. I mean, there aren't too many blowouts. And so everybody's kind of trying to hit a home run by offering players who are singles in return, because they don't want to hurt themselves too badly by making a trade. So, you know, like the Comets are in first place. How much do you risk? Do you risk giving up two players who have helped you all year for an unknown? I mean, usually this time there's a reason why these other teams are getting rid of people.
Right.
Do they make a lot of money, or are they just not producing? It's like, you know, so there's no perfect trade at this time.
Yeah, and like you said, nobody wants to make anybody else better because the gaps aren't that big. And now with less teams allowed in the playoffs, you know, you go in each division from 8 to 4, there's less room for error.
Yeah, and you know, I think your best bet might be just to go to the amateur route and see if you can come up with another Keith Roger or Justin Hodgman like the Comets have done in the past.
Or Tom Mealy last year as they signed him for the playoffs. Then he got shaving cream pied.
Yeah,
which is what I remember about Tom Mealy. Probably will for the rest of his career.
But he's played really well this year.
Yeah, he was a nice addition at the end of last season. Well, back in first place for the Comets. It's always good to say, but I'm not sure how much it means considering they're only up 2 points on Evansville. Evansville plays Tuesday, and then the Comets go down and play at Evansville on Wednesday. So maybe they could increase that gap quite a bit this week. Maybe it'll shrink. Who knows? But when you take a look at being in first place, is that a thing that gives the Comets a little more confidence, or do they not even worry about that considering they're veterans?
I don't think they worry about it that much right now. You know, so much like these last 3 weeks, they played 2 games a week, so it was out of their control. Mm-hmm. I mean, they had no control over whether they were going to end first. They could win every game they had, and I think they were we were 5-1 or something like that. So, you know, I mean, it doesn't really make that much difference. And they were going to fall out of first place just because they played so many fewer games than Evansville did.
As far as being back in first place goes, obviously it's a big week because now that everybody's caught up in terms of games played, 4 games this week, and really a huge month of February in terms of the action they're going to be getting. When you go into a week like this with a Wednesday and a full weekend, what do you do, and how is your approach different than maybe in your playing 2 like last week?
Sure. Well, the last 3 weeks, the Comets did a great job of really busting their heinies in practice to make sure their conditioning was up to snuff. And I thought you could really see that the last 2 games this weekend. I thought they played a full 60 minutes in both games, which they hadn't done in a while. Mm-hmm. And that was encouraging as a spectator to me to see them. You know, their forecheck was every bit as good at the end of the game as it was at the beginning. And that was a real key, I thought, to both games. You know, you might cut down practice a little bit this time now, but it's also easier in a way because it's like, you know, you got 4 games. You're not doing anything else. You're just concentrating on hockey. You know, you're not worrying about, you know, you go to the grocery on Monday because you know you're going to be busy the rest of the week, and that's all you're going to worry about, and especially when they're on the road for 3 of them.
You mentioned that they have upped their conditioning over the past couple of weeks. You feel like that may be kind of a veteran coaching move by Al Sims to use the time wisely, looking ahead to what the month is going to be like?
Well, I think that, yeah, definitely, because there's only 1 more week coming up at the end of the month where you've got a couple days off back-to-back. They got 18 games in 32 days. Now, the nice thing about that is they only have 3 and 3 nights twice. So you've got a little bit of rest time between some games. The most you play, for the most part, is 2 back-to-back. You know, after you've got those 2 out of the way. So, you know, you got to do it then if you're going to do it. And you know you're going to need it because everybody, it's amazing how much weight guys lose throughout the season. They lose like 10 pounds of muscle throughout the season. And it's not because, you know, they just aren't eating or anything. No, they just wear it off, essentially.
And beating Quad City at Quad City, they've had Quad City's numbered this season, 4-1 against the Mallards.
They just match up well with them.
Yeah, they beat them 3-2 at Quad City on Friday, and then on Saturday come back home and beat the Dayton Gems. What did you see this past weekend, aside from the conditioning, that you liked? Because talking to Al Sims last week during practice, he was talking about changing things up and changing things, especially on the power play. The penalty kill's been great, but changing things
Well, the
special
penalty
teams
kill's
wise
been
on the-
struggling lately. That's the thing. They gave up the 2 goals to Quad City. What I noticed was they changed the formation of the power play. Instead of the umbrella or the diamond with the 1 guy up high, they were using 2 guys on the points more, and that didn't seem to be any more effective or less effective than what they'd been doing lately. You know, when you're getting 1 power play chance per game, it's kind of hit or miss, and that's what they've been getting lately. I did talk to some of the guys this week about how they really need to work at drawing more penalties, and maybe they need to control the puck more in the offensive zone so they get those chances, because they're only getting 1 chance a game. I mean, that's kind of a joke, but they're still playing well and they're winning. I mean, they only gave up 1 goal 5-on-5 this week, so that was pretty good. But they really need to work on that part of it. And they've got to get better at not allowing so many odd man rushes and breakaways. They got to somehow put a chain around the high forward that, you know, you stay up here, period. You don't go down, because if they take away the odd man rushes and the breakaways, the other teams don't score. I mean, that's where the majority of the Comets penalties have been coming from, and the opponent's goals. If they take those out, they're not going to get beat.
And as far as the job of Nick Boucher in goal, it's been fantastic to see. He's maybe the league MVP. But at Quad City on Friday night, he earns his 200th professional win in his 200th game as a Comet, coincidentally. What have you seen from Nick this year, and how have you seen him evolve in between the pipes since he's been here?
He hasn't had to make that many spectacular saves this year because his positioning has been so sound. The defense in front of him is doing a much better job clearing rebounds, and he's doing a better job of controlling his rebounds too. So you haven't seen too many acrobatic saves where the play gets out of control and he's got to dive one way or the other. He's always in control, and he seems to be the one controlling the play.
Chris Auger, big week. Artem Podchandilov, big week. What did you see from them this past week? Because really, Artem had the game in control in Quad City, 2 assists and you know, the first goal for the Comets, and then Chris has been playing great hockey as well.
It's like Artie's, like we've said, he's the X factor. He's got the most talent of anybody on the team, and everybody on the team knows it. They just don't know where he's going. You know, he seemed to be. They're hoping by putting him with Colin Chalk and Chris Auger that Colin can get through to Artem and say, you know, if you go here, you'll get the puck here, and you know, you'll still be as effective. It was funny. I thought, if you noticed the 2-on-1 that he had with Auger, it was because of his defense, which is probably the first time all year that he's made a play on the defensive end that ended up leading to offense, and that led to that goal with no time left in the period. You know, I mean, that was interesting, and maybe it's all defense with him. I mean, if you look at it, if they cut out the breakaways, that's been half of the opposing team's goals lately, even though Nick's stopping most of them. You know, you take away the breakaways and the odd man rushes, how are other teams going to score? And then that's it right there. That's the whole key.